Hello. I'm going to be using a little strong language, and because of YouTube restrictions, I can't use this language at the opening of my video. So I have to go a minute or so into it before I start talking dirty. For that reason, I'm going to tell you right now that I'm Grannyopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I'm also on Twitter and Gab, which is where I let you know when I've uploaded a new video. All the links are in the description, including links to donation sites if you wish to use them. If you don't, no sweat. But as opposed to what's going on here in this heat, in this attic, which I have to apologise for the casualness of my attire today, but this attic is really very, very overheated now, however many skylights I open. All right, where was I? Yes, no sweat, that's right. But please do click that like button, which is very useful for the algorithm, YouTube tells me. Also, subscribe and remember to click the notification button if you're subscribed on YouTube. I think that, share. Yes, you can share if it doesn't embarrass you too much. Okay, so having got that out of the way, I shall now go on to Lord King. That's a great name, isn't it? Especially for somebody who was, at least, in control of the Bank of England. The Bank of England has weakened its ability, says Lord King, to fight inflation because of the amount of time and effort it has dedicated to net zero. Well, no shit, Sherlock. The former bank governor who led Threadneedle Street from 2003 to 2013, I want to point something out to you. Threadneedle Street is where the Bank of England is based. That's the original Bank of England. And it was established on this street. And people think Threadneedle Street probably has something to do with dressmaking or cloth making or something like that, because there were districts in London that had certain trades associated with them, and then you find names that are associated with those trades. In this case, it is the name of a trade, but not the one you might be thinking of. Threadneedle Street refers more to the sort of trade in which certain body parts were put in other body parts of various sorts. And it's always struck me as rather appropriate that the Bank of England should be in a place famed for prostitution. Okay, the former bank governor who led Threadneedle Street from 2003 to 2013 said it made absolutely no sense to add net zero to the bank's growing list of responsibilities. I mean, they've probably got enough with the rainbow flags and the pronoun worries. There's only so much you can worry about. Now we've got all this trans stuff to think of. Well, for goodness sake, global warming or boiling or wherever we are right now, that comes way down the list, doesn't it? Warning that climate change had become the straw that breaks the camel's back, or the straw that bursts into flames in the heat. It comes after Andrew Bailey, the Bank of England's governor, admitted in May that it had made errors in its UK inflation forecasts, conceding it had some very big lessons to learn. No. The only lesson it has to learn is the lesson it started out with, which it should have already learnt in the, 300 years that the Bank of England has been going, something like that. Do your job. Your job is looking after money. Just do that. That's fine with me. I don't need the social obligations. I don't need the political stances. I don't need the diversity and inclusion ideas. I don't need that bloody rainbow flag. I just need you to keep our money secure and on an even keel. And that has nothing to do with currently fashionable ideas. Money has been the same since the Sumerians invented something like money 5,000 years ago, or however long it was. Rishi Sunak updated the bank's remit in 2021 as Chancellor, instructing policymakers across Threadneedle Street to support growth and enable transition to a net zero economy. And Rishi Sunak is a fool and a puppet. He's got these big Trudonian ideas. That's not Rishi Sunak's idea either. Rishi Sunak is the Prime Minister. He may pursue currently fashionable ideas because that's what politicians do. But somebody who is looking after the bank should just stare at him blankly and then get back to counting the pounds. This is part of the problem. There are too many organisations meshed with other organisations. I am a great supporter of chaos. I'm not talking about anarchy, by the way. I mean that there's an idea abroad, and it's being pushed by the World Economic Forum and by the United Nations. I mean, the United Nations are doing this more and more now, that we should all come together under one leadership, or one leader perhaps, and then everything will be fine because it'll all be coordinated. That's what went wrong with Soviet Russia. The idea was, in theory, so good, everything would be taken care of by the Central Committee, and they would tell people what to plant, when to plant it, according to what was necessary, and then it would all come back and it would be redistributed evenly, and it didn't work because that is never the way things work out with human beings. I mean, it would work out very well if we were all machines, but we're not. That's the problem with human beings. One of the big problems with socialism is it forgets that we're human beings and we're all pulling in our own separate directions and mucking things up. Well, mucking things up if they are being planned centrally. Right. So there's this whole thing. The government has decided it's going to, go for net zero. So it's telling all the organisations to forge ahead in that direction. That's the wrong way to go about it. It really is the wrong way to go about things. Anyway, in an interview with The Telegraph, Lord King said Britain's influence on achieving global net zero emissions was negligible. And this is a big surprise. I do not understand it. These are all intelligent people. For all that I diss Rishi Sunak, and I don't like him, and I don't think he makes a good Prime Minister, I'm quite sure he's a very intelligent man. I'm also quite sure that Lord King is a very intelligent man. How could they fall for such nonsense when I didn't? And I'm not the sort of person who could run the Bank of England. Well, actually, it looks like Lord King isn't the sort of person either. Or Rishi Sunak, for that matter. OK, influence was negligible, and that the government put too much emphasis on arbitrary dates, burning petrol and diesel cars, as well as banning petrol and diesel cars, as well as gas boilers. He said the Bank of England can do nothing about climate change. No shit, Sherlock. He said the Bank of England could do nothing about climate change. I could have told him that. My postman could have told him that. The local parking meter attendant could have told him that. It's not even obvious that the biggest and most immediate risks to the stability of the banking system are coming from climate change, as opposed to pandemics or cybersecurity or excess leading to commercial property. So to have a special focus on that doesn't, in my view, make any sense. Yeah, well, none of this makes any sense, except for the cybersecurity, which does. That's something, and excess lending to commercial property. This is shoving money about. This is securing money. For climate, that's not the Bank of England's remit. Why don't people stick to their lane? Lord King has previously criticised the massive expansion of the bank's remit in the years following the 2008 financial crisis, when it was made responsible for policing financial stability risks and ensuring banks have enough capital to withstand financial shocks. Well, actually, in theory, that sounds good, but, at that point, I'm not an economist. This is in addition to its primary goal of keeping inflation at 2%. Well, we're into other economics now. What I was talking about was Lord King's sudden realization that they're not responsible for climate change. Well, good for you, Lord King. Unfortunately, you are not now the head of the Bank of England, are you? So we have a problem here. It's funny how people like you discover these things when it's too late for you to do anything about it. All right. Well, maybe the message will get out sooner or later. Till next time. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the Graniopteryx design or Grambo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.graniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share.